Then, I would ask that the board consider an alteration to the agenda to add on new hires, the GEMS principal. Just got word of acceptance of that. And I think it could do a lot to help alleviate some of the nervousness at GEMS with filling that leadership role. And I can go into more depth, but if you're comfortable with that, adding that when the time comes.
Well, that's action item number 1. So when we get there, I'll look forward to hearing what you have to say. Okay. We have first up is the administrator and director's reports.
Hello, principal, Clearwater Valley Junior Senior High School. Few announcements. Prom is on April 30th. I know there was some confusion of it possibly being this weekend. It is not. It is April 30th. Just to clarify that for some individuals. I know Mary Charlie's greenhouse class, I think they're about ready to start selling flower baskets and vegetables and plants that they've been growing in there a little earlier than last year. But we're excited for that. She's got a full greenhouse and she's about up and running to sell those. So we'll put that out on our website and on Facebook as well when she's ready for that. Spring concert for junior, so 6 through 12, junior and senior high spring concert will be on May 4th at 7 p.m. We just started our ISAC testing last week. We finalized that on April 28th. We had a few of our students attend the Host of State conference last week, and we actually had 4 of our own CBHS students that medaled. Angel Dominguez got first in job seeking skills. Lena McCuster first in cultural diversity and healthcare. Gunnar Anderberg second in job seeking skills. Wyatt Anderberg third in research, persuasive writing and speaking. And all of these students are eligible to attend the national vocal competition in Nashville, Tennessee in June. So we're really excited for them, and we thank Tracy, our school nurse. She does that and takes those kids down, and she does monthly meetings with them. She does a lot with our SOSA program, so we appreciate her and her time. May 11th, we're having a Ram Pride Day. So we brought this back last year. Those that don't know what Ram Pride Day is, we have all of our students in our student body 6 through 12. They just do projects like around the school, like cleanup and stuff. We're actually expanding that to downtown Houston, the main street, and then we're also coming over to the elementary school to help out. So we're excited about that. A lot of planning going around that. So that's on May 11th. And then we usually have a barbecue and a staff versus student softball game in the afternoon, which is really fun. So if you want to come out and attend and watch a softball baseball game, it's a pretty fun day for our students. May 15th, we have a fundraiser. We're going to have a garage sale. This is on that Sunday, our CV parking lot from 1 to 5 p.m. It's one of our fundraisers for one of our student groups. So come out and support that, or if you're wanting to sell some of your items and buy a parking spot. May 18th, senior class award ceremony at 1 p.m. And then we have our graduation the 27th at 5 p.m. So a lot of things coming up and a lot of events. So that's all for my board report.
What are the chances of them really getting to go to Nashville? What would that take?
So it takes fundraising. So I'm not sure what kind of fundraising and accounts that they have. I know last year they did it virtually, and we actually had Angel Dominguez. She got first nationally in the division that she was competing in. So I haven't spoken to Tracy since they went to this, because this was last week. And so I'm going to talk to Tracy about that to see what we're needing. I don't know if it's money that students have to contribute some, or if it's fundraising that they've done and they already have it in their account. or if they've gotten grants or scholarships. So,
What's the date in Nashville again?
so June 22nd through the 25th.
Could you let me know?
Yeah, I'll let you know. Yeah, as soon as I talk to Tracy, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So,
Thank you.
go.
Right. The teen center is up and running in Trusky. The reason I mention that is it doesn't necessarily affect the K-5 group, but I have a foster son who's there right now after his track practice, waiting for me to take him home. So it's a great place for kids to go if they need to be in a safe place after school that we have in our community now. So just wanted to highlight that again. We are also in the middle of our ISAT testing. Some of our grades have completed their portion. We have some exciting results in math with our 5th grade students who have tested well above the state average. There are many factors that we can contribute to this success, but we feel that splitting up our 4 or 5 combo classes and having smaller class sizes this year has made a huge difference in our student success. We have had a successful book fair this year that has brought in over $4,000 to the library. Elk City report, we're applying for a tribal grant of $7,750 to fund our REACH program. There's also a volunteer recognition dessert night set for May 19th, which is only 3 days after the next board meeting, but I thought I would make that announcement now, and I'll probably make it again to give anybody who would like to travel to that time to plan for it. As we are looking for ways to save money, our community volunteers certainly help fill some of those gaps for us, and we appreciate them. The library is having their annual beverage tasting and silent auction that's scheduled for Friday, May 13th at the Elk Summit Cafe building. It's the nature of the beverage that moves it to an offsite facility. So their hope that's their library fundraiser. That's how they go about raising money there. So anybody that would like to attend and get on that silent auction and some beverage tasting, you're welcome to join them there. Teacher Appreciation Week is coming up May 2nd through the 6th, with I guess the main Teacher Appreciation Day being May 3rd. So we appreciate all of our teachers, community groups, and individual families who bring in delicious items to snack on, and even lunch sometimes. I had mentioned in my last report about the RISE conference that I attended and subsequently shared with the school board some of the 4-day week discussions that I listened in on. Something that hasn't been mentioned as a benefit of the 4-day week is that it helps in the retention of our teachers and also helps to attract new teachers to our district. 2 things I feel this district is of. Technology report. There's still a lot of money left over in the federal connectivity fund. And so they've opened up another application window, and we are submitting to purchase Chromebooks. Mr. Fisk reported that many of our Chromebooks will reach end of life at the same time. So this will help to bring new devices into our district if we are funded to replace the older ones and not impact our technology budget. The request is for almost $600,000, which includes a 3-year white glove warranty repair. This will help with the 2 to 5 Chromebooks repairs demand that Michael is currently doing weekly. We are hoping to hire his replacement with the same skill set. Just as a way of history, there were 65 applicants when I applied for the director of technology position 10 years ago. And the last 2 building tech hires, we had 3 to 4 applicants. So the pool is low. We're hoping to find somebody.
Yes, we can hear it.
I would like to compliment students and staff on how well they care for our devices. And even though sometimes a key doesn't pop off by accident, we have a very successful rate of uptime on our devices. That is my report.
Be careful of those keys.
That is that wasp.
Superintendent report. There were other reports, by the way, from the GHS crew in the The first update, just to, in fact, you probably can give me a little direction in this. As you know, we embarked on roof projects. The CB High School was completed. Well, just finally got wrapped up here, I guess, just a little while ago. They had some stuff after the winter. But we have a real problem at the high school at JHS, and that was really the next roof in line for you guys to tackle. Ty has crawled around and up and down trying to figure out some of the reasons why, and there certainly are reasons why we're seeing water seep into the classrooms. And it's not just a little bit of water, it's a lot of water. And obviously that's creating other problems with that could lead to mold, could lead to rot, the destruction of drywall, and the list goes on to the roof. So basically we could do two parts. We're currently thinking that this is going to be a pretty big animal, 350,000 to 400,000 as a full guess. And the reason Ty and I are guessing is from the time we've done this, imagine that costs have gone up for the supplies of that particular roof. The board should note that you have a student occupied building maintenance fund. See, you can only utilize it for those, those types of maintenance operations. A little over 400,000 in that operating fund right now. Ty was able to get just a quick estimate to repair the one section of roof that is currently a real problem, and we've estimated that at about 110 to 125. The same fear probably exists. We probably get a bid, and there's going to be some language about supplies, how to get them. Can we get them? I would imagine if you said, Todd, we'd like you to at least start down the path of the bid process. Our prediction is it's not in by winter. It's probably a year from now, spring, where they would probably, and mainly because of supply. Could be that they're able to do those things once they got moving on Heather's building. They moved pretty quick and then kind of got caught with a little bit of weather. It will be the same type of roof that you see. You can see it on the barrel roof of the gymnasium real easily on your way by. That will be the same product that they'll use on the GHS building. It is a bigger area, therefore it'll be a little higher cost. And there's probably some damage that we're going to have to. There's a mitigation piece. I'll call it the center of the building. It's not quite that, but where it's leaking. It's been a problem after a problem after a fix. We're going to try and get it right. So the note is to you all that we have utilized a architect that has done the bid process for you all so that it meets the litmus of the law. And then you can look at those bids. I think we just had the one bid last time. More than likely it'll be the one bid again. We're asked that company, this architect firm will make those particular calls to see if someone else will bid it. But you could predict 350,000+ for the whole piece. But we won't know that until you see a bid. It'd probably be other costs incurred type of a scenario. So I'm looking for your direction on if you want me to get with Ty and say, let's move on this. It's going to take some time. Or that's A, or B is just that one section we think might be around the 110 to 125,000. Or I guess C option is we'd like you to hold breakout. So I'm asking for a little direction from you all now. Yeah. And OB has been in those classrooms and,
My daughter
obviously
just
shows
texted
pictures.
me a picture last week. She went up to the board to write on it and it was all wet. And she was like, do you know your board's wet? Did you spray it? She's like, no, that's the roof leaking. And the paint is all peeled away. It's bad. So I would like to repair the roof as needed.
I'll also say, it's
Yeah.
probably good for you all to know that student occupied building maintenance fund can be used in other areas. For instance, repairing this particular wall you just described or something that's ruined, we could pull funds from that. You will basically be more than likely exhausting that to get this roof completely done. Ty feels confident that the section that is causing all of what he just described can be repaired adequately. So that's why I kind of give you these three particular options. This is a maintenance of effort piece that I've described to you, where dollars go in from the state can only be utilized in that particular area. And then you have some matching funds that you put in towards that. So it will rebuild itself. Not be, just like it goes away and it goes away. It'll start to rebuild it from there. And I guess that lastly is the only thing you'd be saying is let's work on the bid process. And when you get that, might be in a month or two, you could at least then say, you're gonna have to pass action on it. We accept it or we don't, or that seems like too much.
That seems the prudent thing to do, to say the least.
Yeah, they don't want excess damage. I mean, if it's causing damage, that's just gonna
That's-
increase costs. So
that's right.
let's give it time to go ahead and see what it's gonna take.
Have to.
Okay, we'll move forward on that bid process.
Thank you.
As you can see, I'm Miss Polly again tonight. She's not well and apologizes in advance. So thanks for letting me catch up. Another student occupied building maintenance piece that has come to my attention is down at CB High School. I don't know how long this building has been there. I'm going to say all 50 or 60 years. There isn't a pull station for a fire alarm. So we had to put in a pull station for fire alarm. It's really it's expensive. Probably it's going to be $10,000+ to do this and adequately equip the emergency system for that. So Ty is working on that now, and we might be able to get we're hoping we might get a lower bid. Right now it's at $14,000 to get that said and done, and that number will come out of student occupied building maintenance, and that will happen basically immediately. We'll be working on that now.
That's basically a code compliance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Just an update, interviewing payroll clerk this week. An administrative assistant / payroll clerk, human resources. We did have 4 candidates for that. There haven't been any others, and we're going to interview 4. I'll let you know how that goes. I received a resignation. It's in your packet for a transportation director, Craig Johnson. Craig currently is your longest tenured employee in Mountain View School District, around 36 years. Becky Hogg is right below him at 35. We'll open this position, but I'll tell you, the lady in the pink doesn't stand out real well, but Roseanne Graham, I'm going to recommend highly that she takes that role. I can say this with real confidence after she's cracked the whip on me, learning about transportation and all of the bus stuff in the last 5 or 6 months. She'll be one to tell you there's a lot she doesn't know, but there's a lot she does know. And that is a big, big tiger, again, for you guys to have someone in place for that. So I'll open it up to meet that particular standard, and we'll do our due diligence around that. I'll have her submit her stuff. And if there ends up being some candidates through that, I'll walk through the proper steps accordingly. But at this particular time, we have an in-house person that I believe could do a really good job for you. And, there is more than just Roseanne, which I have seen crawling around underneath buses and changing oil and, fixing some minor repairs in the bus. She is not afraid to do that. And I have found her underneath buses many times. At the same time, she's a quality instructor for this district. And watching the process of what it takes for you to teach a new driver is a lot of work, and she puts you right to the test, and there's no wiggle room, and that's why our drivers are pretty good, very good. So,
Todd,
yes,
with us already having enough open positions that you're already focusing a lot of your energy on, and we have an internal candidate, is that something we could just possibly?
you could. My only hesitation in it is that, our claim is an equal opportunity employer. We put this on all of our work, and It just makes it really clean for all of us that we took some time to open it up. It wouldn't be like I only opened it for 12 hours and shut it. We would open it for a week or two and see if there's something that comes in. If given the climate out there and what I'm seeing, we had very little even for the assistant role.
Yeah, I
Still
just
zero.
thought that was.
Yeah, and I
mean,
appreciate you saying
because of
that.
that, I thought maybe, we haven't received any qualified candidates for that position. So,
Do we have, I like the way these thinking, do we have a mechanism that allows us to appoint an interim? So long as she's
Yeah,
okay
you
with the
you
kind of a
could do
condition.
that. You certainly can do that. Right now we have Roseanne as an interim up at the Grangeville section back and forth with that assistant. My hope would be is that it could be all said and done here in the next 6 weeks for you to hopefully by perhaps the May meeting, you'd just be approving it in your new hires.
My understanding of interns generally are that the pay for what may become the promotion goes along with the quote temporary title. And if she's going to be doing the work, I don't see why that should be something we shouldn't afford, to use the term. Makes sense. It's good for the district, I think, and it also stabilizes things a bit.
If you'd like me to move in that direction, I certainly can, and I certainly don't mind saving the time. So I'll bring it for your approval in the May meeting, since it's in my notes now, and obviously Mr. Johnson is here through June 30th. I would say that I don't want to speak for Roseanne, but I will. She obviously with the change since Christmas, being up there, being involved with that particular team of drivers, she's gotten a lot of on-the-job training really quickly. So I do appreciate that. I'll move forward with that and have it ready to go.
Right. Thank you.
The bonus, as you guys have learned about from the legislative session, is being calculated right now, and it's just a quick update. If we can get in this April payroll, we'll do it. Becky has been working to try, and there has to be a formula, and the formula is based off of how much time, and then we've got a formula that's geared for classified, which is around the 2,080 hours for a year for full time, and then you have to drill it back, those that are part-time, and then for full-time certified, all of the teachers, as you recall, it was around $1,000. They gave an allocation. It won't be just $1,000. And let me give you an example of why. In the classified, or excuse me, in the certified, we felt it important, I felt it important that we included if there was a long staff member that we've hired that has not completed their certification but has worked all year for us, and we know I felt like they should be included. So that they don't get counted for the formula at the state to give the money. So it brings it down a little bit. Everyone kind of chipped in to help those extra people. It'll just be a little bit shy of 1,000, but still a pretty nice particular piece that will be coming to everybody that way. So just let you know that we are working on that. I know it has been brought up, and the audit, a mid-year audit consideration, and Larry and I talked about it. Thought, well, maybe we just keep moving forward. I just throw out for all of the board's consideration again. Been so much damage really to the administrative team that works there in terms of their feeling of impropriety, or we've heard embezzlement, we've heard about fraud, they're stealing money, and there's certainly a lot of pride going out the door. Perhaps it would be good that the board would know what those numbers are in terms of consideration of having that done to prove that none of those things have occurred or ever have occurred. And Ms. Hogg is, as you know, some systems are not able to be followed through right now. We're very limited at the administrative level right now with people leaving. And I'm trying to get to you as much conciseness so you can act accordingly and not miss some big dates coming up. And one of those was a ad that we'll talk more about in the agenda around the budget process that you have to have posted and in the paper and adopted by you all. So perhaps all of this work is a consideration. I don't think you can utilize me for that conversation because I think it needs to be even cleaner than that if you decide to do that. Those people obviously work under me, and I think it would be important that you could at least say, hey, here's a new clean slate for the next person. Everything has met its routine check marks for approval. Again, it's your consideration. I'm not asking for a discussion, but perhaps something to think through as you move forward. I do know there's a number of things on your plate, and they're all really, really big things. Most boards might be dealing with maybe just one. You have a pretty strong half a dozen of things that you're trying to get through and move forward with. So I kind of leave that with consideration. I also sent to you that ISBA, as you know, they jumped off the National Association of School Boards, not really in alignment with those particular pieces, and this COSPA is now their new piece. And if you hadn't got it, I believe I forwarded it to you, something for you to look over and know that you pay dues to ISBA as a member. And there have been some boards that have said we want to, some of the affiliation piece has not been in alignment with them. I think they feel better about this alignment, but it would be important for you to read through those particular pieces as well. That's all I have for you.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz.
Can I ask a question? What's the bottom line, the money coming from the legislature? You said 1,000 a month for teacher stuff, but how much is coming?
You know,
run the figures?
I don't have the figures, but Wednesday is a legislative roadshow, they call it. It's in Becky will be attending that on Wednesday. We're hoping to get some clarity from the negotiation team from what they're putting in towards health benefits, whether you're joining the state or you're not. We're waiting on those numbers. Remember, there's obligations that are coming through with kindergarten supports for all day, but there's a testing element that is triggered here. And so you have to test every kindergartner. We probably should be planning day one. This is going to sound bad, but you really look at, they're not going to do well. Day one, they won't do well on the assessment, obviously. But then you'll compare that all the way in May and do another assessment. We should see all this particular growth in what they've done. That's going to trigger a funding model for you centered around the kindergarten piece. Realize that the legislature have done a lot of work around, hey, trying to get the state funding mechanism to help schools. So the benefit package where schools could jump on the state funding was meant to help save dollars for the district. And it certainly might. But they were predicting 90+% of districts to jump on, and I'm hearing 50%. Because some districts were doing better or wanting to wait the year. They could wait 1 year and see whether you should jump in. With that, though, they took your leadership premiums to help fund that. So a lot of staff earned a leadership premium of around $1,000 to do certain leadership roles that you approve in the fall for them to do. A good example is a mentor. The state of Idaho does not recommend mandates that you have a mentor for every new teacher, and it has to be in place for 2 years. We funded that with the teacher that did that, and they would get a leadership training for their work involved. There was work above and beyond what their normal day was. Those are gone now. And you funded them in a number of areas, but mentorship was a big one. It could be a leadership team teacher, it could be a department lead. Those are some of the categories. Now we're seeing all of that gone. So some staff that had 1, 2, or maybe 3 of those, 3 would be kind of a big number, but there are a few that did. They're going to realize that deduction out of their salary. So there was a little bit of a shell game that, hey, we did this for you, but in order to get there, we took away. And this now becomes an unfunded mandate that the board will have to work through. And the mentorship is the best example of that. It is mandatory that we provide a mentor for a new teacher. And I don't know if we're gonna have a lot of people racing to the front to say, I'll just do that, all that extra time for free. We should be able to try and, we would like to try and help to pay them for the duties that they do around them. Those are some conversations that are happening, negotiations right now. Even though it has not been a negotiated item, leadership premiums, the negotiation team has been looking at, are there some other creative ways that we might be able to help support those teachers that are doing some extra work. So Casey, long story short, hopefully more in May, as I learned that this week, it happens later in this week. We have more of an understanding of what that all represents. Thank you.
And still no sight on SRS fund. So.
No.
Mr. Fisk is completed. Next item is trustee reports.
I just have, there was a survey that the ISBA asked us if we wanted to send to our communities to see what they are looking for in a superintendent. And so I've been meaning to do this since the last meeting, but there's only a couple questions. One is they say what role they have in the district. And then please note professional qualities you feel would be important for the new superintendent of Mountain View School District. In your response, you could select some of the qualities provided, which you feel would be a priority, or compose your own. And there's 15 different options for people to choose, or they can type in their own. And then the other one, please note personal qualities you feel would be important for new superintendent. In your response, you can select some more qualities. So again, it's 12 options there. And then there is a third question that says, please note a question you would ask the superintendent candidates. So they could type in their own question for the interview process. So I just didn't know if you guys wanted me to have them do that, and then we can send out a digital link and put it on our websites, or if you don't want to do the survey.
When we hired Todd's position, we did a survey. It was actually more extensive than that, but the input from it was extremely helpful. I thought they gave a lot of good point of view of what the community thought and how they felt, and there were really even some in the fill in the blank section, some really thought-provoking, interesting responses. So I, for one, think it was, and they give you a very nice report that compiles that data, and usually very quickly. So I
Do you
thought
want me
it
to
was
see
worthwhile.
what their old questions were?
I really liked their last one.
Okay,
So this is fine, but their last one.
yeah, this
was,
is pretty generic.
their last one was a lot longer.
Okay.
And I thought we got a lot out of it. I don't know if Casey remembers that or not, but I thought we got quite a bit out of it. Yeah, there was a lot of information on it. And I know we had a very large participation.
Okay.
And I think they sent it out via parent email, put it in the paper for community members to respond. It was out in quite a few places. but it was definitely worthwhile.
Okay, I will do that then.
Thank you.
The other thing was there, we have one applicant for the superintendent position at this time. Just kidding.
If you don't mind, Larry, I just want to give a quick report on negotiations. I don't know that we've said a lot about it, but I just really want to say how impressive to me it has been. Kind of sad to say. I've been involved in negotiations. This is my 4th time in negotiations, and this is my 3rd year on the board. The first year that I started, we were still doing negotiations for the prior year. Then I was involved in negotiation for that year. I was involved in negotiations for last year and this year. Last year and this year, we switched to something called interest-based bargaining. This school district went from having negotiation sessions where quite frequently people yelled at each other, people walked out of the room, people were extremely unhappy with each other, to negotiation sessions where Todd and B can attest, people laugh. It is such a different approach to the table, and it's basically our groups coming to the table saying, these are what resources we have, these are the things that are important to our district, and how do we get on the same page? And I will just say that I cannot appreciate our leadership on both sides enough to be at a place where they would come to the table and say, what's the best thing for our staff? What's the best thing for our district? And how can we work together for everyone's sake? And last year, negotiations lasted what, Todd?
7 times.
7 times. And previously, I can't even tell you how many times I met in the previous 2 times. It was a lot, sometimes twice one week, once the next week for many, many weeks. I think it's amazing. And I just would really like to thank our CIEA leadership and our administrative leadership of the district for just making this huge. It's different and it's appreciated. It's going very well so far this year, and everybody's just kind of waiting for some, as Todd alluded to, some numbers and pieces to come from the district. And things that are to the forefront, like he said, are insurance funding. How can we do the best by our staff and make the most sense out of what those numbers are looking like in the long term? And then, leadership premium, if it's going away, but we're still expecting our staff and we need them to mentor because we're mandated. How do we fund that? And we've got some creative ideas. We've got some professional development dollars, maybe some extra time off, whatever it is. How do we make it work to where people still feel like it's okay to do those extra pieces? A lot of brainstorming on how to make people feel valued, even if we don't necessarily have money to give them to feel valued. And just really appreciate everybody and think they're doing a great job. Do we have any reports on the rewrites of the job descriptions?
I was,
Work on it.
working on it. We should have a more formal report by next meeting.
There's not much to
I'll need to make a point with Mr. Fizz to sit down on some how we go about addressing legal pieces and things like that. But nonetheless, no, we are making progress. That's what we were talking about over here. So try to have a more formal report for your next meeting. All right. At this point in the agenda reflects that it is our public input session, and Lacey is going to be keeping our time again. We ask members of the audience to be mindful of the fact that they're limited to 3 minutes, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say. The first person, we have 4 signed up to speak, and the first person is Ashley Walker. Hi.
So I know you guys have like a lot to deal with, obviously. I can put a bug in your ear for something to talk about down the road. So I work for St. Mary's Hospital, and we have a part-time grant writer who makes a lot of money for our facilities. And that might be something that you would consider investing in the future. Even part-time, they can bring in millions. What do you say, 3.9 in the 4 years that he's been doing it, just whenever he had time.
Is this Cody?
And you can ask him more about that. And, you know, I don't know if he would want to do that part-time for you guys, but he might know somebody who's skilled or someone who has experience in that area. But I think it would be a wonderful idea when we're trying to come up with funding and our levies are not working. And that's something that, I mean, I don't know what part-time grant writers make, but I mean, $30,000, $40,000 a year to bring in millions is a really good exchange. And I don't want to bring into anything else, so that's it. I'll go my time.
Thank you. All right, next on the list is Valerie Peppercorn. Did I get that right? Thank you.
I'm a third grade teacher over at GEMS, and I just have a few items that myself and some of my fellow teachers there have kind of talked about in consideration for the calendar for next year. I know that we're moving to a 4-day week, so and that may bring up some concern of having too many 3-day weeks because of Monday holidays that we often have off. And some people have kind of thought of maybe thinking that the weeks that we have Monday holidays to have to go to school on that Friday, even though most of the time we wouldn't, but we would actually suggest not doing that. We think it's going to be way too difficult on our parents to be able to say and keep track of which Fridays are to send their kids, which Fridays not to send their kids, and that's going to be really hard for them. And we feel it could also be a safety and attendance issue if we have school on random Fridays, but not every Friday. So we would prefer to keep all Fridays no school for them. And maybe in helping with some of those holidays, we do have Monday holidays that are not required for us to be out of school. We just take those days off. And as an elementary teacher who teaches about some of those holidays, we would be fine being there on those Mondays and teaching about it that day. So for instance, Martin Luther King Day, President's Day, and January 2nd, which is the day after New Year's, those are not required for us to be out of school. So we could easily make those Mondays, those days being in school, even though we don't currently. The entire reason for moving to a 4-day week was for budget reasons. So we don't see why we should be extending the school year to meet up with those Fridays that we would be off. We would ask that you extend each day rather than the days of the year, because then it's going to actually save us money in the long run than if we are extending our year out either at the end or the beginning. Then we were also going along with the minutes that we would still need. I actually looked it up. Idaho Code Section 33-512 states that the grades 9 through 12 are required to have 990 hours of instruction. And then grades 4 through 8 need 900 hours of instruction. And the lower grades are only at 810 hours of instruction. So it goes down. The older you are, the more hours you need. And we are currently, especially our elementary, way over those hours. And so for our K-5 kids, we've been making our elementary and middle school kids do the same amount of instructional time as our high schoolers, even though they don't need to. And so our kids don't need those added days in there for our elementary kids. Our young kids don't need the added days or times because they're already far exceeding the number of hours by a minimum of 90 to 180 hours of extra time right now. So we really don't need to add time for that.
Thank you. All right, next is Katrina Huger, please.
Good evening. I'm here to address Robert's Rules of Order. I've watched the board since you've all been on it, since it's been at every meeting since January. And you are not running your meetings in accordance with board policy 1500P, which states meeting conduct and order of business. General rules of parliamentary procedure are used at every board meeting. And those general rules of Robert's Rules of Order they're used for guiding meetings and for making decisions as a group. There's guidelines to make motions. There's guidelines for who is to speak after a motion is made for your discussions. There's guidelines as when two things can be brought back to the table and when a motion could be rescinded. And there's specific procedures that have to be go through to make that happen. It was rather discouraging for me to be at the last meeting when our board chair said that he couldn't find anything in board policy. It is in board policy that we should be abiding by general rules of Robert's Rule of Order. Again, 1500P. Last paragraph, last page. addresses it specifically. And we need to abide by that. We need to be operating as a group, making decisions as a group in accordance to Robert's Rules of Order. It's imperative, it's in district policy, and it should be abided by. And there's even guidelines for, what a board chair should be doing as far as their roles and responsibility, and that is one of them. Managing board members, if they're not, we had a board member that asked at the last meeting that we remind our board members to stay on topic of the particular motion that was being made. That's what the responsibility of a board chair is, to keep those board members staying on that topic and not vacillating and grandstanding. You need to stay on topic. You need to abide by Robert's Rules of Order.
Thank you. And last on the list is Renita Lee, please.
I'm here to address the potential decision that you'll be making about your 4-day school week calendar. Some things that I would like to bring up is I know that there's always been discussion every year about when you're going to start, when you're going to end. This year, I would like you to take into consideration that starting later is better than sooner. Our area has already felt the impact, like everyone else has, that it's very difficult to get people to work nowadays. And we have a very large population of kids that go to school in the school district that either work on their own family's farm, or like my children, who we aren't farmers, but my kids work harvest. And so if you're going to be starting school at the end of August, those kids are faced with the decision of they quit their job before harvest is over, or they actually miss the first part of school. I will tell you that my kids missed the first part of school because they accepted that job with that farmer, and I was not going to let them walk away from it until the job was done. All right. Don't know if all parents feel that way, just I do. The second thing I wanted to bring into consideration is that considering the school district has over a $400,000 power bill every year, and we've talked about issues of what are the little things that we can do to save about even 10% on that bill. I would trade my power bill for the first week of June than the last week of August, any day. So I guess what I'm asking you is to please consider, number one, not starting school until the Tuesday after Labor Day. Because then we also know that there's a lot of families around here that Labor Day weekend is their last hurrah way up in the mountains. And I was guilty of it too. We pulled our kids on Tuesday and we headed off to the high country. So there's no need to put the parents or the kids in that position to start after Labor Day weekend. The other thing is like, someone already mentioned it, thank you. All those Monday holidays, right? There's not a law that says that you have to not be in school that day. I mean, hey, if they can go to school on Veterans Day, they can go to school on President's Day, because the dead presidents don't care. We actually have live veterans in this community, so don't have those days off. Have those kids go to school on those Mondays. And I will agree, if I still had kids that I had to get childcare for, trying to figure out, oh geez, is this one of those Mondays I have to have childcare? Or wait a minute, okay, they're gonna go to school Friday, so I have to then let my childcare person know, I don't need you now, not this week. Just eliminate them. Just eliminate them and have the kids go to school on Monday.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is entitled board discussion. This was something that Mr. Fisk and I talked about putting on here for the express purpose of just having an ability to just have a discussion without respect to having to have a motion in order to generate a discussion, just to start the idea of what options do we have, what options aren't reasonable, what options are. I appreciate very much what was said about the Monday holiday situation. That's one that had not occurred. I want to ask if everybody, I don't know if everybody got a chance to check their email. I did finally today get that doctoral thesis. It was a study done in 2020 of by Spencer Barzee. He's a superintendent in a different district, but nonetheless, he did his dissertation on the impact of rural Idaho schools on the 4-day school week, and he offered that to us, and I got a copy and hope everyone got it. It's 136 pages. I don't expect anybody to read it this afternoon, but we did. Yeah.
But I only
You're
printed
wrong.
I only printed the good pages. I
Okay.
mean, not the good page, the ones that were like impacts of a 4-day school week, so.
Good. All right. Well, that's, other than that, I have to say that it's interesting to me. The consistency of responses I get calling around the different school districts and talking to different people. And the consistency being that once you start it, you don't want to go back. I regret that we had to make the decision that we made quicker than we might have otherwise liked. The man that did the dissertation, his school district, took over a year to study it, and they wanted to see how it might benefit them. And they did it for different reasons than they're doing it, but nonetheless, that's my only regret so far. Hopefully we can avoid any more regrets that way. But
And that was early on. I mean, they only had Chalice to go off of.
Well,
So
this-
we have a lot more examples now.
exactly. And their motivation was they were losing, according to Mr. Barzee, they were having staffing issues because they felt they couldn't compete with school districts that had 4-day school weeks because it was viewed as a benefit by staff. And so they began looking at it in order to stay competitive. So that's a good reason as any, I guess. Anyway, it's a pretty much open discussion. I'd love to know what everybody's thinking.
Well, do you want to just talk about the calendar? or-
Sure, however you want to do it. This is an open,
And I just want to give some bullet points as you guys go through this. You know, one is impacts to the lunch program.
Mhm.
Ms. Bernie's here from Chartwell's. You know, there's just some things that you should obviously be aware of, because there will be a considerable loss for the 20% that's cut through the day there. And I think right now, the initial prediction mixed with rising food costs, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought it was around 80,000.
Yes.
So the board should be aware of those particular impacts and to the degree whether Chartwell's, that we contract all that out, all of our food service program, whether Chartwell's can continue to do business with Mountain View School District. Those will be things that they'll have to obviously look at and study. Basically each additional day, it sounds like around $1,500 is the impact. So, you know, we're talking about retention of staff and do all these things. What we're doing is for Maureen, it's going to be really tough for her to retain staff because they're losing the full day or 20% of their lunch isn't going to grow by any time. It's just we're going to serve 4 days of lunch and breakfast, or we're going to serve 5 days of lunch and breakfast. It's the same thing for transportation. We're not extending anything. They'll just be later and earlier, depending on what the times you choose. So those will be particular impacts. Anything to add, Maureen?
I'd like to clarify, there's two things that are happening with this scenario. The first one is our contract, there's certain fixed costs. And just taking a day off of our revenue, that's where the majority of this loss would come from. The other thing is we've been riding the tide of COVID money, and all of our kids have been eating for free for the last 2 years. And in the fall, we're going back to paid free and reduced, and our reimbursement rates also drop. So it's really kind of a double whammy that we are up against.
Thank you for your letter as well, your update, your report.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any ideas?
I need a calendar. We all need a calendar. That's where our world starts. And you guys are the board. I contract with your district, and what we go with what you want.
I think one of the biggest and most valid concerns is, the big question is, what does the board intend for our non-certified staff? I mean, obviously certified staff are under contract. The amounts that they're paid are under negotiations. What is the intent for the remainder of the staff? Do they work 4/10s? Do they, work 4/8s? If we make a change to the schedule, how does that impact them? And I think they really deserve an answer as to what that intent is.
I think along, if I could just piggyback that, so again, as you guys have lots to consider is, when right now our mark is 20 hours and then we've given a full to help support staff, we've given a full benefit. So if you're 20 hours or plus, you'd also get a single coverage. There's going to be many of our bus drivers that will now move under that threshold. And so that could be very impacting to, we just talked about that. So obviously there's a lot of work trying to just bring on drivers, but that could be but at the same time, I'll just say the board may decide, well, we'll lower that threshold at this hour mark. We will offer that to keep people going. So just something again to piggyback Melissa.
So I spoke to Orfino's HR person, and she said it really depends on each section, like custodians, secretaries, instructional assistants, and bus drivers. It really would depend on the supervisor and what they can make work. Orfino's bus drivers work Monday through Thursdays. They work 5.5 hours. The district pays 100% employee benefits. Some are hourly, but they do have some subs as well. Custodians work 32 hours. They have 5 days. Some have 5 days, 8 hours. Some do 4 days, 8 hours. And the supervisors kind of left it up to the tasks and the person, and they got to choose. Secretaries work 4 8-hour days, 10 months a year. So the head secretaries work 194 days. The attendant secretaries work 176 days. And then the instructional assistants again vary. The paras vary because of the needs of the kids and those students' commitments. So I was trying to get ideas on what to do. And she was like, why don't you just let the supervisors work with the employees individually on what works and what the needs are of that area.
You give them a target and then
I think you'll need to outline the target, or they may not realize some of the cost savings you're trying to incur. If you don't have it narrowed down to say, this is how we want you to work within. For instance, the transportation is a good example. Is the route will not change in any form. It'll still be X a number of minutes for each morning and night route. We're just cutting one full day off. So they lose 20%. Probably what the board needs to decide. So if I'm losing 20% of my 30 hours, now I'm at 24 hours, or I fall under 20, I'm at 16, let's say. Is the board going to honor part-time folks with a lot of people work for a benefit, to have the one benefit package? We honor one full benefit, or not. Those will be, I think if you don't give those department heads the direction, then it may not filter out the way you hope.
that makes sense. I will say the people that I've spoken with, that came up, and I did not find one of the people that I spoke with that were not doing as you suggest in the state. And so most of them referred to it as lowering the threshold for benefits. And makes sense in a lot of respect, because you're right, a lot of people do work for benefits. That's just,
Yeah.
that's just reality. Yeah.
Lee, was there anything, any discussions with, let's say, or if you know, did teachers' pay get cut? Did you negotiate all certified employees took a hit? Did administration take a cut? Did,
I
you
did
know,
not talk about certified, just about classified,
Okay.
because certified's being negotiated right now, so I really didn't think that was on the table. I did ask some of the bus drivers. I know one in particular has incredible computer skills, so I was like, you know, would that person be willing to come in, you know, an hour a day after her route and, you know, help with some Photoshop or something like that, you know? And I asked another bus driver and she was like, heck no, I don't want to work anymore. And so she was like, I'm fine with what I have, whatever you guys do for a 4-day, I don't want to work anymore. So then she was okay. So it just feels like I don't want to lose employees because we say 32 hours a day, you know, or a week. And we have a lot of really good classified that I don't want to.
well, the board's obviously balancing. There's a difficulty, the tightrope, right? You're trying to save money. Part of the, I believe, the impetus of the change to the 4-day week, obviously some was that we could attract some other folks to that. But I know in the beginning, there was a discussion around, we feel like we could save a percentage of dollars. And it's, in the end, it's gonna be a personnel hit. And I know you don't want to do that too, but that's where it's gonna be difficult for you to try and decide what are going to be some of the hits. Some of the unknown pieces are, you're probably gonna need a year, maybe even 2, to start to see, hey, we really realize this type of savings, where you'll have a year to then compare back. And remember, with like transportation, you're getting 85 cents on the dollar back, you know, and that you're removing that a Friday or whatever day you choose, it's not going to be there. Some of that good reimbursement piece goes away. So it's not like it infuses a big savings that way, but you will not need them. They may make up some of the ground on your extracurricular activities. I believe you were talking about trying to put as much as you could into the Friday. And I know at times, you know, Roseanne and I are always discussing with Craig about, you know, there's too many things going on after school. Punch it into Friday, those people can pick up those extra hours, which could help with that, but it's not consistent.
Roseanne? Am I correct when the bus barn transportation supervisor gets an assistant for 4 hours a week or a day?
As far as
Like somebody can come in and be the bus washer / secretary. Who gets paid to sanitize the buses?
that just started with the COVID, that hasn't been a normal thing.
Hasn't really.
Is it going away?
I don't know.
Yeah,
about
we ran out of products, so there's no, you know, unless CDC jumps on the back up and you guys won that.
I was just thinking because there are 2 bus drivers here, I believe, that are gonna be under those hours.
Yeah, there is when I done mine before I went up to Grangeville, I did my bus route. And then I would do oil changes or wash buses or something to take the load off. Because it is a lot more, I think, than some people realize, trying to keep up with all of it. So I would do some that way. And there is, I have a kid right now that is kind of helping pick up some right now with me up there. Don't do a lot of hours, extra other than activities. But I have put in there a couple days to help try to get some of the stuff up, because I'm trying to leave everything ready for the next person. I want them to walk in with all buses service, all buses ready to start school, basically, other than the annual inspection. One time a week.
We also include in their pay for the day to clean buses and to give fueled up. So, you know, we had some extra for them to do that. Obviously, that might not be an everyday event, but as it averages out.
It's 15 minutes night and morning added to each route for pre and post, basically. And that's to fuel the buses, shift the buses. You know, just, and then try to keep the outside clean once every now and then, try to just do that.
And I guess I feel that it would be, as we've talked about, you know, be said anywhere from, what you say, 2.5% to 5% increase or decrease in our budget costs. I would personally like to see an outline of exactly, you know, where and how we're making those cuts, because everything, and I appreciate what you sent around, Larry. Everything that I've read so far, and especially what you sent around, you know, boiled down to most Idaho schools are only seeing a 0.4 to maybe a 2% decrease in cost. And it depends on how they cut costs. And, you know, if with 82 to 84% of our budget being staff, if we have really a goal of not decreasing any staff costs, I am very, very hard pressed to see how we're going to do it. If 85% of our transportation costs are reimbursed, if we cut transportation, it almost hurts us. If we cut to our lunch program, it does hurt us. You know, if we cut down our bus drivers, they might lose insurance coverage. If we vote to keep that insurance coverage, then we're going to incur another cost. I mean, it's kind of like this double-edged sword that's fighting us at a lot of turns. And, you know, I just, either way, I guess my only thing is let's not sacrifice one part of our district at the altar to the other. I mean, I'm all for this helping us with teacher recruitment and retention, with this study definitely says it does. But if we have to make significant cuts to other areas and we lose retention and recruitment of other employees, it takes all of them to make our district work. So, I mean, I think we need to have a really big comprehensive plan to, and we need to set it. It's not fair to ask our building supervisors to say, well, you know, can you or can't you make it work on how many hours a week? And the other part that I thought was really interesting about this study was the number of districts that started out as a 4-day and then saw that they had some decreases in deficiencies and then added in activities on the 5th day. So I don't know how much we would see in savings to our building, heat, electricity, whatever. It just seems like there's a lot of moving pieces to this. And for us to see, I mean, if we could save 5%, and this would be sustainable, that would be great for our district. But in reading what you gave us, I really, based on his dissertation, which is just one person and his studies, but you know, the biggest pros I see are teacher recruitment and retention. The biggest cons that I see are that there were some significant student improvements in 5-day versus 4-day. But then he said, well, then that's questionable. So I'm not sure what he meant by that. But there wasn't a huge difference, because it sounded like a lot of the schools in 4-day, when they saw a deficiency, made some of that up with 50 activities for tutoring and study groups or whatever. So then you're open the 5th day again. I would just, if we're going to save money on this, how are we going to do it? That's my biggest question, because I would really like to see that. And as much as I want us to retain all staff, I want us to retain all staff. I really seriously have a problem with us crucifying part of our staff at the expense of other part of our staff. It needs to be fair to everybody involved.
I've talked to a lot of classified that are actually excited about it as well. So I don't think, I mean, I think there's mixed around all of the employees.
Oh, and I think in the community too, but what I'm saying is, if we are making this decision for cost savings, then we as a board need to come to the table with what those cost savings are going to be, and they need to be concrete.
Was there any of the research you found? Did anybody switch to a 4-day week because of failed levy support?
Not that what I heard.
So on page 31 of this article, it says rationale for change. When a school district is in a financial crisis, a number of factors are considered to create a viable school budget. This unfortunate situation may include reducing teachers, classified staff, closing schools, and decreasing the number of programs, none of which are welcomed by the community. A feasible option is a 4-day week. The primary reasons for changing to the 4-day week is the cost savings.
So with that said, the board's gonna have to consider who you eliminating and what it's going to be. And you're gonna have to steer yourself away from who we ultimately perhaps trying to save right now, but we're going after cost savings. And cost savings equals this. And the minutia of that may be those building leaders to say, oh, this is how I'm going to, dictate it out with paras and custodial staff, those particulars. But when I sit down with leadership team, I'm gonna have to be very clear to them, this is what you have to work in. Now you can produce to me what that will look like. And that'll be important that you have that for your new superintendent to be able to outline that.
And I think it's the same thing that goes as a balance of what we talked about at the last meeting. If you want to say go one way, go the other, you can pick and choose what you want to support your thing, because the same guy that wrote what you just said also wrote, if a school district is considering making the change for financial reasons, it should only be implemented as one of the last methods to save money. He said one of the studies noted that less than 1% of their annual budget was saved. So, I mean, it's here, it's there. We just need to decide if we're going down this route and we're setting this, and we're going to say, this is the change that saves Mountain View School District. How? And that's our job. We can't put that onto our administrative staff. That's not fair.
I don't think it's fair to tell somebody you have never met what hours to work and when. I
Right.
feel like their supervisor knows what works best for them. And I think it's overstepping my bounds as somebody who,
No, you shouldn't do that. You're
No,
right.
no.
You shouldn't be defining that. That is a
No.
principal's job. You should be defining paras are only going to be allowed this many hours. Transportation is only going to be allowed this many hours, and we are not going to pay a benefit if they go over it. You need to define these clear things. We're not going to go and ask teachers in negotiations to cut 2% because of whatever, or we're not going to cut our administrative staff by this percent, or salaries by this percentage. That is a board definition. You're exactly right. You shouldn't be doing the other. That's the minutia that these building leaders will have to be able to say, but you need to just be able to say, no custodians working more than 32 hours. Heather, figure it out. How do you want them to come? I want them on a Friday for 4 hours. So, because it's quiet, they can do a deeper clean, but okay, that's her deal. And then I want it, and I'll titrate out the other 4 days. You might say it's 28 hours. Again, just, this is what we're only going to approve. And overtime would be on the superintendent will approve all overtime and that or over those hours, it wouldn't even meet overtime. And it goes deeper. What do you want for maintenance? We cutting our maintenance supervisor back by the same day. Do you want the lawns mowed? Do you want no water? How do you want the maintenance in the summer? How do you want a painting? Do you just know it's 32 hours? I'm mistaking the number. It's this many hours, no matter what time of the year. July, September, that's all they're going to work. And then Ty's going to go, since you're here, I'm picking on you, Ty. Ty's going to say, okay, you guys, we can work 3 10s and we'll have a 5-day weekend in the summer, and we'll just rock out the painting and with that type of thing. So there's going to be things, do you let certain things just go? Or, hey, no, we're going to give some approval for some of those things to still occur. We want the grounds to look right, whatever. You'll have to figure those things out. And that your superintendent would be involved in those detailed pieces.
I figured a lot of our savings would come from subs, from custodial subs, bus subs, teacher subs. That's what I thought. So I plan on keeping the custodians at 4 10s and not working on Fridays, but that's just me.
Imagine secretaries would probably, I would imagine all your 8-hour employees are not going to take the hit. They're still going to work their 40 hours because a lot of them work 365 days a year, right? Am I correct? You work 12 months?
12-month employees. They're actually, I think they're classified a little bit differently. And
Like the 12 employees.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess that's what I'm asking. I mean, I'm asking is if we're gonna see some kind of a savings for this, but we really still need these people to work what they're working now. Then I'm not saying we don't do it. I'm just saying, please explain to me how we save money. Because I'm not getting it.
Right, well, I can work with you on that if you'd like, but we really need to kind of focus on what our task at hand is tonight. And so,
We're in discussion about
Right.
4-day school week.
calendar options provided, right?
Well, everything's on the table in this element. When we get down to the agenda item, I mean, the action item, then we can focus on what we want to adopt. It's all open. I will say, excuse me, I will say that with respect to action item number 3, which is the 22-23 4-day calendar, that includes all aspects of the subject of calendaring, and is what we're talking about now. Just for clarification. So to add, I think Melissa's appropriately put your finger on what the issue is. Not that it's necessarily directly related, but I have been a public employee most of my life, and there's been 2 occasions where also unionized, and so not that we're equivalent to teachers in that respect, our contracts are different animals, but nonetheless, we made a decision as a group through our association that everybody would share in the burden, and we took a 10-hour a week cut, and that's how we did it. But it was graduated. Didn't work so well in the first quarter because the suits say we weren't saving quite enough money, and so they moved it up and down a little bit. But the bottom line was that we included everybody, and I don't know how better to do it because I don't. We're not going to be able to accomplish what we want to accomplish without everybody sharing the burden. I just don't see it. It's not there. Just for whatever it's worth, I'm not saying I disagree with any of the numbers that were thrown out. The average that I was told was seen of savings was 2.5 to 3%, and that's with extremely rigorous oversight of administration and how they do things. So that's my 2 cents. I think everybody needs to share in the burden. And however that works out, as Mr. Fisk has pointed out, is the job for he and his staff to work out. I mean, I appreciate, even though I didn't go anywhere the last time Melissa brought it up as a motion, that we eliminate extracurricular. Somebody asked me, why would she do that? I said, because she understands reality. And maybe she can speak for herself on this, of course, but maybe the reality is that we just need to rip the Band-Aid off and get busy healing. I don't know. That's how I took it. And I'm not suggesting we go there again, but I'm saying it's kind of the same animal. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? And where do we really want to get to? Well, that's why I say everybody shares in the burden.
So what would a suggestion be from you to share the burden?
Hours wise, somebody mentioned early on, I don't know. I think it was Todd that mentioned the 20-hour mark. That'd be 5 hours a week if I interpreted that. This is a
Right now, the mark is for you all at 20 hours. If someone's working for us, Mountain View School District, we pay a full benefit for them. That's what you do now.
You're saying 20 hours per week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, and there is a bigger test. It's calculated over the course of the whole year. It gives them an average. So if they dip down to 16 hours one week, they don't lose their benefit, but there is a calculation that gives it over the course of the year that their hours meet 0.5 or greater, and the board has given that benefit. So what everyone will need from your decision is, hey, that remains, and if you fall under it, then you don't. It would just be the same. You wouldn't change anything. But our staff or my hiring folks, my leadership team will know. The leadership team will need to know to say, yeah, I'm hiring for this, and it does not, more than likely will not include a benefit. You know, when you take paras and basically a typical day is around 7.5 hours. From start to finish, around 7.5 to 8 hours. So they may not hit right at 40 hours, an hourly person. Even though the teacher's day falls into those particular minutes, their duties and the items that they put in far greater than just meeting an 8-hour particular day. But those are hard things to quantify because they happen at all different times. I can drive by the school on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, there could be 4 or 5 cars out front of the school with teachers working. So, but for you to be clear in what you want the cuts to be, that'll be really extremely important.
Is the students' hours in the classroom same with all 4 schools?
Yeah.
What are those hours?
Well, they just shared with you, you got your 9-12.
No, I mean per day.
Yeah. Start and stop times are within a minute or so of each other throughout
High
the,
school.
yeah. Probably in a perfect world, Casey, would be that you would have, that you would contract with a teacher for exactly the hours that they're, outlined by the state, but that's not how we do it. We contract teachers with, under negotiated days of service, and that's their contract. And as our teachers shared, our primaries in every school across the land gets a lot of hours. They get a lot of extra time because we're not running a bus service when they're done at 2 o'clock and then come back and we'll get the high school kids who are done at 3:20. You'd never be able to afford the process of that. So the day is a one size fits all, so to speak. And in our K-8 scenarios, we have a little shorter day, and that's mainly so that we can get buses to and from to the other pickup, to the high school, and they'll pick up another group of kids.
So were we to make a decision tonight with respect to instruction to you and your staff, would you prefer that we deal with on a percentage basis? Or on, what would be the easiest way for you to approach this in terms of, I don't think planning is going to be immediate, it's going to have to be worked out.
Yeah, there's going to be some transition pieces. For instance, we generally have a custodian, for instance, come in towards the end of the day. You have 2 lead custodians that start early in the morning, snow removal, whatever it may look like for that. But it really has to figure out how are you going to spread this out? Are they going to be working full time still? They also do some light maintenance pieces. And if there's something big, they'll get with Ty, and then they'll tackle a bigger project. So if then the calendar piece is important for you guys because that generates a part of your funding model because they're calculating your minutes through that. So it'll be important for us to have that as we look to set a budget. I have not tried to prepare a percentage or how I think you should go about doing that. I have not done any research around all of that.
I guess what I meant is hypothetically, would you prefer us to instruct you, again, hypothetically, that we want to do a 20% in hours cuts, however that looks to the individual department? Is that going to make it an easier elephant to tackle than to try and look at individual departments and say, well, perhaps we can do 18 over here and 22 over there. It's kind of a scenario.
Well, there will be some of that.
There will,
Because if you're a paraprofessional and now the day starts at 8 AM and goes till, let's say, just 4 PM, and it won't be quite that. Now you're gonna have 4 8-hour days, so I'm at 32. And if it was 8 AM to 3:15, I was 7¼ hours every day, 5 days a week. Right, so now I was about 37 hours, now I'm at 32 hours. Do we need paras, earlier and later? Yes, many times our our principals are using them for crosswalk duty or getting them on the bus. And so we have supervision duties. There's a duty-free lunch obligation that we try and get teachers, so their planning period can be protected in lunchtime. That's not always the case, but we do try and do that. So you have a paraprofessional who works with a special needs student. It's non-negotiable. We've got to have them, and their hours need to be connected to that student's hours, right? So there will be variables overall. If the board says, we have decided that we're going to take Fridays off, this is an example, and no one will work on a Friday, except on the 1 day a month that's meant for professional development, and teachers will be in on those particular days, and obviously administrators will be in on that day. Ty's going to be kind of drooling on a Friday, right? The reason I say that is I can paint this room on a Friday, and there's no kids and no staff. It's be perfect timing, but can I go in there and do that? Are you going to remove hours from your lead maintenance? Those are just all those general pieces of, you're trying to pull it all back. Then you can have those conversations with, no, we're going to leave. We're not going to touch teachers, administration. You want the building, the administrative offices open on a Friday. You want them closed too. Those people will move from 40 hours to 32 hours. So there's a lot for you to consider. And that's why I asked B, it sounds like there's a little bit of research, has a school district gone to the 4-day week because of trying to look at savings only, like, hey, we failed levy, and we thought this was the best method, versus we really think we could tackle a good retention piece. Now, you might be able to just grab Orofino's, this is what we did. And that could probably be very useful or helpful for the process that you are all trying to wrangle with. I mean, it's a difficult position. Your new superintendent's going to have to be able to drive all of this right from the get-go and be real clear with the principals on what that looks like.
I feel like our supervisors are very competent to understand our current financial situation and understand that they need to realize whatever cost savings they can without, hurting the employees. I mean, if they need to work 4/10s, I mean, I think we should just see what sort of cost savings we end up finding. There's people that, I mean, I can't tell you what to do with your bus drivers, as long as you understand that we have any cost savings right now is a benefit, correct? I mean, we are in whatever situation we are in, and we have to save wherever we can. And so I just feel like, Ty, if you need to paint a room on a Friday morning, or if you need to go replace something, great. If you don't need to work on Fridays and you put your 40 hours in and nothing needs to be done, great. I don't feel like we need to.
But he's going to have people say to him, why don't I get 40 hours this week? And next week, I'm only at 30. I can't pay my bills.
Because we're in a financial
Well, he needs to be
situation
able
where
to
we need to
say
save money
this.
where we can.
You need to say, this is what you can do, and this is what you can do only. If the board does not define it, I believe you're going to get run over. I won't be here to see it, but I believe it'll be helter-skelter. And a principal says, I think I really need those people out there, and they're going to be able to totally sell you on the reason why they should have those people there. we have needs that you could be adding all sorts of people to this school district to help our kids. We need better paras to tutor on a Friday. We're gonna bring in those kids on Friday morning, 4 hours. Nobody else is here. We're gonna do really drill down in the instruction because they need it. And we think it's worth every dollar, and I would agree with it. And then the board goes, well, there's no say we added. We didn't do any, yeah, with our kids, boy, they're scoring great on the ISAT. There is need right now for that. I would love to say 4-day week, great, but Fridays, we're gonna have parents bring in those low kids 4 hours, ready to lunch. Maureen, we want a lunch for those kids. She'd be real happy about it, and we move them out. But if it's willy-nilly and it's just too open,
So when the school's closed, you just want us to say when the school's closed to all students and staff except for maintenance? Is that what you'd like us to say?
I don't really,
Right,
I don't.
I just want to, I mean, for time's sake, I would like to.
Yeah,
move
I don't
forward.
really think that, I just think that it's important the board clarifies what you're really after. So everything I hear is that I don't want anybody to get hurt. That's what I've heard from you a number of times, and I appreciate
I
that.
want to minimize.
You-
Because there's some people that want less hours.
I get that. Get that. The board has 1.7 million to find this year. You're gonna have, there's board members don't feel that their levy will not pass next year.
Right.
And a 4-day week is not gonna do it in 23, 24. The 4-day week, the 4-day week may be the mechanism to say, we really gotta mix things up in a way that we cannot even imagine right now. And maybe the 4-week is good for that. I don't know. But I think you'll be in a position to say, well, there's no way we could be in this building on a Friday and pay anybody. That's that we're gonna have to really be hard on those particular cuts. So I don't, it's a good question. I appreciate that you asked me that, but I don't really feel I can give you an answer. I have not taken any time to study it, to see on our leadership level what we would contemplate as the movements around that. It was never given to us to study. So we're here at it, and they're going to be running with it, what that may look like. So I guess I'd have to defer.
And I would just say that I would really, really, really appreciate if we are going to make decisions and movements based on other school districts, that we choose school districts with high test scores, and we choose school districts with high graduation rates. And I will say some of the school districts in our region have terrible graduation rates. And I would absolutely implore us to not follow their model, because we have a really good graduation rate in our region from 2015 to 2019. And I would.
We do?
We do.
Bring the Mountain View?
Yes. Comparatively. And I would hate to see us go in some of the direction of some of the other schools. So if we're going to model, let's choose a school to model after what decisions that they've made that have a high graduation rate and high test scores.
Okay, council is a 4-day week, and they went from 43 to 73% on their test scores. That one. I think I've sent that one to you guys.
I'm just saying, if we're gonna model after a school district, there are some in our region that we didn't model after. And if you pull up graduation rates, it'll be pretty quick to see which ones we shouldn't. I just want to be careful, because if we're gonna say this is what they did and it worked, let's make sure it actually worked. You know, if we're gonna pick a school and say this is where they cut and this
Well,
is
just
how
like
they
our
planned.
research, Melissa, there's good and bad examples for it all, and that's why it's on a 2-year trial. And if we see that there's things going down or we don't save the money, then of course we wouldn't continue this.
Out of the 40 school districts that have changed since 2007, not a single one has changed back, and they cite the main reason as the community has made life-changing decisions around the 4-day week. So I'm just going to throw it out there as that's not the road. I mean, we need to make sure that we're going down with full eyes open and making good decisions.
Well, we, like I said, assuming there's no further need of discussion of things to this part of the agenda. I think perhaps it would be a good time. Our next action item is referred to as the new business consent agenda, which can be dealt with in one motion. However, Mr. Smith has needed to take a break, and so I think we should all do likewise. For adjourn for 10 minutes. Gosh. Listed as new business consent agenda to be approved in one motion. We have the minutes of the previous meetings, March 21st, 28th, and April 7th. It's two special and one regular board meeting, which all members have been provided with a copy of. And we also have room and board in lieu of transportation requests and non-resident open enrollment requests, which all can be approved in one motion. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to accept the new business consent agenda to be approved in one motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No opposed. Thank you. All right, the next action item is actually 5. Recommended new hires and resignations. With that, Mr. Fisk, if you would.
Yeah, I'd like to add a new hire onto that list. The name, this is for the GEMS principal. Mona, she goes by Mona, or she goes by Lee Slichter, and she's Mona, or Lee, if you're listening, I'm sorry if I butchered your last name. Slichter. She actually worked for Mountain View about a dozen years ago as a paraprofessional, and went on to North Dakota, got a lot of experience, and so I offered her the position, but obviously pending board approval. I think it'd be great if we could get that through and kind of take a little bit of the nervousness off from our GEMS group and let that kind of go easy, and they can start to focus on other things that are more important. So I will say to you that I offered, again, your approval, a contract 218 days, salary point at 82,116, 1-year contract.
So could I have those numbers again one more time?
218-day
Yes, sir.
contract, which meets the other principles. Starting salary of 82,116.
Thank you.
And a 1-year contract.
I would make a motion that we accept the new hires and resignations as presented.
A second. Discussion?
I would like to amend Craig Johnson to be listed under non-certified instead of certified.
So,
Oh, good, it's fixed. Okay,
okay,
awesome. Never mind, golden. Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 2, emergency closure, 9:30 a.m. 9:30 a.m. district start due to women.
I would make a motion that we approve this emergency closure.
Seconds, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 3. And again, this is the big dog at the meeting today, 2223 Grangeville CD 4-day calendar, literally and what I'll call elementally with respect to those issues that we previously discussed. Do I hear a motion in any regard?
I move that we review the 4-day calendars that were sent to us from the district. There's 2 of them.
Mr. Fisk, the calendar that we previously approved, so that we were gonna have a 5-day week, how many days did that include?
Probably one of these, what, say again?
168, I
Yeah.
believe.
Okay, and then this one was 140, 148.
Both of them are 148.
One is, I just had Kendra just make up a mock one for you guys. Another one was sent in from a group of teachers from GEMS. There may have been some others sent directly to you. A lot of people have chimed in. I believe probably to you folks, not necessarily me. Probably the biggest thing that we need is obviously there's start and stop time, and that we, Kendra can, verify that we meet the appropriate minutes.
So these are both Kendra's, but one of them's got a certain start date, one of them's got a different start date.
Yeah, did
basically.
she?
One says after Labor Day in the yellow on the top right.
One's after and one's before, they're both 148.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, the days and numbers.
What are the professional development days in November most generally used for?
I'm not looking right at parent teacher conference.
Well, that's November.
They have it in
3rd
November
or
early.
4th.
So there would also be, I'm not sure I have it.
After Labor Day start.
Yeah, so the 21-22 professional days, we initially, in the prior calendars you already adopted, we're planning for some professional learning community work around that particular time. And I would just say that that's probably going to change, whether you, because of professional development, we thought we'd use some of those professional development dollars to continue our training in the PLCs. But that's what we had planned in the first calendar.
Are we allowed to work with, like, take away some professional days, or is that negotiated?
Well, it'll be under their contractual time. So what happens is there's a contractual days, and now you're going to be moving those days, so you're going to have to be kind of put through the grinder to see how many minutes, which would be hours. So for the extended day to still meet what the obligation is under a 4-day week. That's why this particular piece is going to be fairly important as you kind of set everything, because we're gonna have to do a lot of work off of these points here to pull that information out from contracts.
Currently, what is their requirement? Is it 14 professional days?
But many of us in that last year.
Good one.
Many of us in that last year. Basically, what he's saying is there's more professional days this year because we're making up their agreed amount of contract hours. So those contract hours, instead of student instructional days, are going into professional days. Does that make sense?
Totally, but we're extending the days as well, so.
Yeah, you're still gonna stay with the same number of professional days. And I want to say it's at 15. So Mountain View has some old cobwebs in it. You had furlough days built in a number of years ago. You guys took furlough days, kept them in the calendar. It's somewhat of as an aside, but it makes things murky around those particular pieces. But right now you have 15 obligated professional PD days, and there are flex days that Mountain View School District is allowed. So during Fair Week in August, those teachers could come in at their leisure at the end of August to work in a particular classroom. We open up 4 days in there. We'd like them to get at least 2 in there. And then again, those are defined by building principals, what those particular duties are. We also, I just had Kendra again, just so that you guys had something in front of you, that we pushed some of those, as you've heard tonight, the folks didn't want it. We pushed a 4-day week, like after Labor Day and Memorial Day, into a Friday. So again, just trying to meet the days. You may not want that. And all we were doing is trying to get something in front of you, and you may switch that. So I don't want you to construe it that was our particular idea, or we felt that it was important to do it that way.
Thanks to you guys for putting this together.
Well, I have to tell you, I like going back to school as soon as the fair is over. It seems like fair is over, kids are ready to go back to school, rather than make them sit in the classroom till the middle of June. I think that's gonna be ineffective. Warming up outside, time to do family stuff, and they're sitting in school there till the 15th of June. I would prefer to kind of just do like we have been, as soon as the fair's over, go ahead and get school started. That's my opinion.
So you're talking about that before the Labor Day start one on that yellow box, in the right corner, is that the one you're looking at?
Yeah.
It also note on there, as you are looking at that, September, Labor Day, January 3rd, those, and Memorial Day doesn't necessarily pan out that way, but those holiday pieces, they are going to school on Friday in this particular calendar. They're taking that Monday holiday and moving a 4-day week. Just to note that some folks feel like that was the right thing to do in terms of consistency. We were just trying to get to the days.
And looking at, I think what might be a better thing to do is a compromise between the two. I would agree with the confusingness of going to school some Fridays and not other Fridays. We have, as a board in the past, had our board meeting on Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. If we were to basically get rid of the Monday, the 2nd of January, Monday, the 16th of January, and February 20th, those are the kind of, however you want to say, nominal Monday holidays. That leaves us with the situation of Memorial Day and Labor Day, which I don't think there's any getting around. Those are Monday holidays that people are just not going to be there. So, if we were to do some sort of a compromise where we were to do a suggested and get rid of those 2 Fridays, Friday, September the 9th, and what was that other one be? Friday, June 2nd, then we can either move that August start date.
Friday, June 2nd is a professional day. There wouldn't be any kids that day.
Okay, so we already have the 2nd off the table. On the
Well,
one calendar, we
you're
do, the
looking
one
at the-
calendar we
Oh,
don't.
okay.
So that's what I'm saying. On the one calendar we do, we don't. One
Yeah.
calendar we don't. But if we were to split those days and do as Casey said,
if we were to, maybe we don't start necessarily, the first full week of that last full week of August. We were to start the week after and then go a little bit into June if we were to split the difference between the two. And not have any Friday school days. I think that might be better. I do worry. At our place of business, we have people that work, normally a Monday through Friday schedule, or normally a Monday through Thursday, or Tuesday through Friday, or some that work Monday through Friday. If you change their days randomly, it makes it really hard for them to remember when they're supposed to be there. And that would be for a lot of people, kids, employees, whatever. I think that would be difficult.
Sure.
And I'm not really excited about there being a lot of, being a few weeks where they're only doing 3 days of school, but for consistency, I think jumping around on Fridays is a bad idea.
I was also thinking like maybe we could take one of those parent teacher conferences away on November 3rd. That way they're in school those days as well.
Or what we could do is make the parent teachers the November 4th and 11th. And not have school. Have school on Thursday the 3rd.
Well, that was my question. Parent teacher conference days, some days we go, sometimes we go, sometimes we don't. Were those planned as days we went or days we didn't do no time?
Say that again.
Those are
Some-
ones we don't.
Are those ones we don't?
Yeah.
Because there's some of them that we do and some of them that we don't. I know this year, there were a Thursday, Friday that we didn't go.
Right, and then there was some where we did it and we just parent
Yeah, and
teacher at
then
night.
and then on the later ones, they traded off, so they'll do 2 evenings and then they trade off that
Yeah.
Friday for a day
So
off.
the 3rd and the 4th are ones that they're planning on us being at school.
That's what I was trying to think through, if Thursday was an evening one and then Friday was the all day. And I don't know, I'd have to ask Kendra.
If I did the math on the days that the kids were in school, and that was not a school, that was not a day that she counted.
So the kids weren't in school.
It
but-
was a
On
day
the
off.
3rd, yeah, the 3rd, it was a day off.
Yeah, she's pretty good at noting it on the column.
So we took those 4 days. and then
So you're-
took it off the
So you're thinking if we went with just as an example, if we went with a before Labor Day start and we took those Mondays off, went to school we went to school those Mondays, didn't go to school those Fridays, those wash each other. But if we took the 2nd or the 3rd and switched it for that other Friday, which would be whatever it is. There was one Friday that was green, the 9th.
Oh, got it.
If we
Uh-huh.
switched the 3rd for the 9th, then that would give us equal days,
Mhm.
if I'm thinking about it right. So if we went on the 2nd, the 16th and the 20th, and then we took those Fridays off, those
That
are
would be nice
equal.
to have that consistency for sure, because that's a full solid 3 months of 4 days.
So then if our kids went that Thursday, the 3rd, but they didn't go that Friday, the 9th, then we're back to the same amount of days. Does that make sense?
You're switching September 9th for November 3rd.
Yes, and then basically the Monday, the 2nd for Friday, the 6th, and Monday, the 16th.
See,
for
I
Friday,
think
the
on the Monday, the
20th.
2nd, you're obligated. Because the holiday falls on the Sunday, I believe it states that the next day will be the paid holiday. I'll have to check that.
I think you're right.
I believe since the New Year's falls on the 1st, you get the next regular paid, business day as a paid holiday.
Okay. So then we'd have to switch Friday, that's 6th
Now,
for,
the 16th, I don't believe you have, was that Martin Luther King or President's Day, the 16th and the 20th?
I
You,
think
that's,
those are optional.
I think those are optional, but so you could pull the 6th into the 16th. And you could pull February 24th and 20th.
Okay, but it actually, sorry. I'm good. I just looked
I
up
did-
the New Year's thing.
Yeah,
It says January 1st, 2022. It falls on a Saturday, but it falls on a weekend. It falls on a Sunday this year. If the holiday falls during the weekend, the government may observe it on a different day. When a holiday lands on a Saturday, it's generally observed on the Friday before. When it lands on Sunday, it is usually observed on the Monday after.
Well, you're already on holiday on December
Which-
30th time. And
Mhm.
that may be, it may already be written in the CBA. You have to look to see.
I guess
So-
I didn't stir anything up.
So if Monday the 2nd is a day that we absolutely can't swap for and we take off Friday the 6th, then do we want to,
Could we take these professional days in November and move them and go to school the 21st and 22nd of November? And move those professional days elsewhere?
well, that would be 2 days.
And then you could take,
What if we moved that, what if we moved one of them to the 1st of June? And then left the other one to make up that date for Friday the 6th. I mean, I don't know if we want to back up another day too. I mean, if we did something slightly different than,
June 1st is a Thursday, right?
right?
So we would go to school that day, correct?
But that's what I'm saying. If you're gonna pick up either that Monday or Tuesday before Thanksgiving, we just,
I was just
if we're gonna
thinking if we
take off
could-
that Friday, we gotta make up that day somehow.
You might be able to take off like if you took those days back, you could take from the last day of school from the 14th, the 13th back, and if you took the 20th off, you could go to the 12th, leaving your last day the 18th, and then they would have a whole week of professional.
Or what if we picked up that extra school day on the 21st of September? And if we're gonna drop on the 21st, either one. There's no school on the 21st
What month?
of December.
Oh,
December.
yeah. Seemed like we could go to school that Wednesday, like move one of those professional days.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I public what people like to do wise. I mean, I think people are pretty used to having extended Christmas break, and we used to do half a week before Thanksgiving. So I mean, whatever you think people might be more comfortable with.
Yeah, I was just thinking of trying to keep the.
If we did a Monday, Tuesday,
And then also Thursday, Friday.
that's what I'm wondering about the Thanksgiving week. But then we'd have to, I mean, if we're gonna go with only 148 days, then we need to move those professional days
Right. so-
somewhere and then, add in, drop one more day of school somewhere else. So I mean, we could,
Yeah, I was just thinking like if, because getting out and then,
if we dropped Thursday the 1st and went to school the 21st and 22nd, move one of those professional days to the
December.
1st of June and did the first 2 days of Thanksgiving week like we used to, then the kids' instructional days would be the same. We just need to find one more professional day, and that could be on whatever Friday.
Mhm. So then they would be out. So you move that professional day to June 1st.
One of them to June 1st, the other one would just need to go on a Friday whenever. I mean, like, pick a day, maybe that 9th of September that we're taking away because it's that Labor Day week.
Or
That would give them one professional day in September.
the week of February 20th.
Or if they picked up a professional day in November, and neither one of those have a professional day, neither just February. Okay. So if we put that professional day on February 3rd. we can follow along with These color coding dates on a calendar as we're talking. So then basically, let's just walk through the changes we'd be taking away.
Which calendar you go on? as you
I'm
walk
sorry,
through
as I'm walking through it before Labor Day start.
the Before Labor Day.
Yep.
Okay.
Could we
So-
see that one on the screen so we
Oh,
can? actually-
Sorry.
Yep, so you can follow along to where we're rolling with this.
Thank you.
So a 22nd start.
22nd, start of August,
Potentially.
potentially. Then if we went and took away the 9th of September. And into that, we're adding in, let's say, the 21st of November,
And then you're putting that into a student day on the
1st, right?
21st.
Right.
So they're gonna come for one day.
Two.
Well, two, but let me get there. So then they're gonna go let's just make it easy as we walk through. They're gonna go on Tuesday, the 3rd of November. So that they're going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday that week.
Thursday.
And then
Thursday.
Thursday the
Mhm.
3rd, sorry, Thursday the 3rd.
We're gonna go to school that day.
And then go to school on, so I'm adding the 3rd and 22nd, and I haven't taken away yet, so they're going to school on the 3rd and the 22nd. And then we're gonna move into Monday, the 2nd, washes with, no, we can't do Monday the 2nd. So one of those
Yeah.
days goes on Friday, the 6th. So I'm gonna swap the 3rd for Friday, the 6th, our days.
So January 6th is gonna go where?
It's basically, they're gonna go to school on Thursday, November 3rd, instead of going on Friday, January 6th. And then we think we're okay to swap the 16th for the 20th.
What month are you in now?
Of January. So
So you're 16th is a go to school.
Yep.
For the 20th.
20 does not go to school. And then on also the 20th of February, as long as we're okay doing that and we're not violating something we're
Yeah,
not
we'll have to
supposed to,
double
we'll have
check.
to double check. Then we would not go the 24th. And then the last one is the 22nd with swap for Thursday, June 1st.
So February, tell me February again, what you're doing with the 20th and the 24th.
We would go to school on the 20th and not go to school on the 24th.
Yeah, those are the switches there.
Those are switches there.
Where did you just say that? January? So we will go to school on the 20th and not on the 23rd.
And you're still out June 1st.
Yeah, so we're gonna, like I said, if we're going to go to school on the 22nd of November, we're going to not go to school on the 1st of June. And that should equal out the same amount of days, but give us no Fridays.
And the professional development days you took, you're just pulling it into some Fridays.
The professional development days, so Thursday, June 2nd would be one. And then
And it's already marked that way.
Thursday, June 2nd.
Oh, you're.
Or the 1st, I'm sorry, I said the wrong day, Thursday, June 1st. And then the other one that we would add in is Lacey suggested February 3rd. To give them one professional development.
Yeah,
day on
from
Friday.
November 21st to February 3rd.
Yeah. And that would be the same amount of professional development days. And all Mondays and no Fridays.
Did we move one of those November conferences days to the Friday the 11th? Was that because we were added that as a school day for that Thursday, for the 3rd?
I think that's what we suggested. I don't see why that affects the calendar. If the staff want to do that, I think that would be just fine.
Move
Yeah.
from November 4th to the 11th.
We still need that time. for
We
the
still need those 2 days.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I just figured it wasn't interfering with the
Yeah,
4-day though.
I think shared, yeah, we already
have
changed
that.
it to from the 3rd to the 11th. I think that's a good idea.
The 11th would be the parent
Second
teacher.
conference.
Yeah,
Okay.
the 4th and the 11th
Okay.
for the 2 days.
So that, yeah.
Switch back to class on that, but it makes no sense. What's that? Right. Unless the draft set actually have the same things coming in on one day with the next, yeah. Yeah.
the teachers' professional days on August 11th and 12th, so they have those 4 days instead of. What is that?
I would
I
like,
was gonna ask what the reason for that was, Todd, do you know?
Because they're flexible days on the 15th through the 19th.
Okay.
And so even though we didn't mark them all in, partly because of fair week. Some teachers are at fair and they think, well, I can get one day and I can go Monday, but I got to show on Thursday or
No,
something.
that makes sense.
That's how I understand the
They're
flexibility.
flexies,
Yeah.
the 4 flexies.
I
Okay.
didn't think we've done that.
Yeah,
We've
we've
done
always-
it ever,
always
yeah,
done
for a
it.
long time.
But we've always done those two that we have to be there on those dates, and then there's two that are flex dates that we can.
That's correct, because the principals are gonna have their particular meetings and set up times for that, and there'll be, if there's any trainings that'll be set by the district, we'll fill those in.
So that's
right.
what you're thinking is your 11, 12, and then your
Yeah,
15th
so
and
they'll have
19th
flex
or
days,
whatever.
and, you know, we don't know what's gonna be plugged in 11, 12 at this time, with your new suit.
I personally, as a teacher, liked having the kids warm up to the school year after coming back from summer. I'd like to propose that we don't work, well, the kids don't come to school, excuse me, the 22nd through the 26th, because after Fair Week is like a hangover for a lot of people. And I would like to propose that we start August 30th, do 3 days that week, do 3 days for Labor Day, and then start the 4 days.
Kind of ease them.
Yeah, we used to do 3, 4, 5.
Mhm.
And if we could do 3, 3, 4, I just feel like that might be a good compromise.
Trying to get the wiggles out before it's time to buckle down.
Yeah, and then, I mean, I just think that 1 week after Fair Week is honestly crucial for so many of the families that go through Fair. Myself
So
being one of
then
them.
push us to June 12th, or would that, your professional day on June 1st go to the 9th?
We have a first and second professional day, right?
Right, you have a first and a second, you could go to school on the 1st and be done the 8th.
That's still leave us with what, 1 day? I think maybe if we did what you're saying, we don't go that week of the 2nd through the 25th. If we still started our 4-day week on the 29th through the 1st.
You get
Then
out on the
then-
8th. and
then
the
we
9th.
get done on the 8th,
Yeah.
The 9th would be
And then we'll
professional.
move that,
from the 1st to the
Yeah,
9th.
to
Yeah,
move it
I
to
think
the
so
9th.
too.
yeah.
I
I
think
like
that
that
makes
idea
good
too.
sense.
Most districts go through that first week of January.
Yeah.
We start roughly the 3rd.
So yeah, we crossed out the 2nd through the 25th. And
And then a
move that,
couple days to get
yeah.
get back in the motions. Yeah, I like that.
Now we need to make sure that we have our quarters ready, because with those changes.
We just moved the first quarter down by 4, so that's at 36, and the fourth quarter will jump to 39. It's a quick guess.
Yeah, so the only problem with that is I think that puts us at November 3rd, and we might need to move those parent-teacher conferences to the 11th and 18th. Because the quarter needs to end, and then teachers need time to prepare for the parent-teacher conferences, so I'm
It's gonna
looking,
shift a lot of stuff.
but we shifted it already because of the week start, or let me count. Sorry.
Right, and then we will go to
4. So that's 34 in the first quarter. We end on October 27th. So the second quarter would end January 19th. So we might want to move that professional day to the 20th instead of the 13th. Yeah, sometimes they're 39,
39 for the second quarter.
34 for the
34
first.
for the first.
Maybe. Oh, there it is. It was the wrong one.
Just wanted to check.
With third quarter end March 23rd.
March 23rd. 36 days.
That would remain the same.
Okay.
Fourth quarter's gonna grow.
32, yeah, maybe we should do April 6th. It's kind of nice for kids to get their makeup work done during spring break, not for the teachers.
It's only 39. We have second quarter's 39.
What do you guys think?
34, 39, 36, 39.
If we do go that first of June, then we could do what he's saying is not go the 29th of August.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we could start August 30th, and go 30th, 31st, first,
And the
6th, 7th, 8th. We do not go Monday to 5th, obviously, but then that would give 3 days, and we start at 4 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm good with this. We usually get start in the middle of the week.
Yeah, you said to do the 8th and not the.
Well, if we do this first and the 8th,
And not do that one.
then that's it. People-
And I can send this to Camden. Ms. Simers.
That would be great.
and we're gonna
That
check
would
it.
be helpful.
Yeah,
Lost me on the left turn.
I can't blame you. I hear you. Now we need to look at professional days though. Okay, so we're still good with parent teacher.
And I think we
We'll need to move up these parent teacher, the 17th. We'll need to move that up because the quarter ends January 19th. Right? So we'll want parent teachers closer to the.
Yeah, so your August para-pro days will go, those
Or
will,
no.
or no, professional days will move from the 11th and 12th to the 18th and 19th and the 22nd and 23rd instead of the 15th and 16th.
But I think if we're doing that, the point is to skip the stuff with fair. I don't know that we want to do that. I mean, I think we want to move it to that 22nd for the 25th. And then we're away from that fair week.
I was just gonna say, I know that they've scheduled the conferences for third quarter, like in between second and third quarter this last year, because second quarter seemed too soon and third quarter was too late to do
Okay.
anything about grades. So they had done that on purpose. It was in the middle of the quarter. And that
What about you guys, Michelle?
It was the same way, so then we had already sent home all of our report cards, and then we were still trying to conference with parents, and we had the report cards had already gone home, so then parents didn't show up for conferences because they had gotten their report cards at second quarter, and then it was in between third quarter, so we, like usually I have 100% attendance, and I only had 5 parents come in for conferences during that conference.
So if the quarter ends January 19th, would it be good to have the parent teacher conferences the 20th or the 27th?
You get more, just in my experience, you get more parents that come in if they're coming in to get their students' report cards, because they come in to get their report cards to conference with the teacher about how their students are doing.
So we remove that.
So move parent teacher conference to the 27th. So you have that 1 week.
Yeah. And I don't know about the high school or junior high, that's just been at the elementary school.
So most
Maybe
generally,
that's
my
our-
experience with the high school is they will want you to conference with the first quarter and the second quarter, and then normally, generally don't, unless you're me and you get phone and then you have to conference anyway, but most generally, if they're doing fine, I don't
know, the big conference, third and fourth quarter.
And that's we conference with all of our parents first quarter. And then we conference with parents, you know, good and bad second quarter.
I think we could, I would say that from this draft, we should send it to Ms. Imers and have her review it and ask the administrators what their preferences for the parent teacher conferences. I would make a motion that this proposed calendar be sent to Ms. Imers and that our administrators be pulled for their request for what the parent teacher conferences would be.
So you had a motion already would be to review the 4-day calendar, and then Lacey's second. Now you really are in discussion.
I was
right
gonna
now.
say-
We've gone through all of this, so
But do we have, I mean, is that a legitimate motion to review? the
no,
calendar?
because you just did that in the motion. So I assume it can die by no, we'll just say a 0-5 vote. And then Melissa will make a new motion to say that again.
To send the draft calendar to Ms. Imers for review and to ask our administrators to propose the dates for parent teacher conferences.
Also,
Okay, Lacey. And then what we could do is could make an action item in your next work session if you
Exactly.
wanted, or we could wait it, push it to the May 16th, I believe.
The more things we can get done, the better.
Yeah, okay. So that's moved and seconded, and
All in favor? Aye,
I,
opposed? Hearing none. All right, item 4 and 5, Mr. Fisk, if you would.
so 4 is just a bit of housekeeping work that you have. What we're trying to do is give you a preliminary budget on the May 16th for you. And I'm hoping Becky will be able to be here to review that with all of you. Then you're going to basically let it go through and review it. And then probably need to determine in that time if there are some changes. Because the changes take a little bit of time as you go through the budget. And then she can make the changes, and then you have to have a budget public hearing. And we're asking to do that on June 1st, and has to get to the paper, published for so many days. And then the county clerk is asking for us for those particular dates. That's how it got in there, just so you could get this ready to go. 22, so be your 22-23 adopted calendar. And so it'll be important that, you'll get your eyes on it. And then Becky will give the presentation of the ins and outs of that. And then there's maybe some tweaks that you want to present in that. So that's what we're working on right now to get you that information in May. And then if for some reason, even after the public hearing, now that's a full opportunity for the public to be able to say yay, nay, or whatever, and you can listen to that. And then that gives us some time from that particular hearing that you felt like there was changes again. We can get it done in a timely fashion so it can make the publication. If you miss the publication, then we don't want to miss publication. How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So that's why it's there.
You don't, because then you have to republish it.
That's right.
And it's expensive.
this goes to,
So we need to make a motion. We're just gonna set,
You're setting that date.
setting a budget hearing date. So if somebody wants to make a motion. then you
I
want
will motion the board that we set the 2022-23 budget hearing for June 1st at the district office at 5:30 p.m.
that. I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. And the
The
last,
last one is, all I did was, you can tell me if you want to do this or not. I just basically took the work session that you already had planned on the 9th and shoved it to the 1st so we could get it done. You may not want that, but I just took the liberty of stealing the one meeting so you can get the other one done just a week early.
sure,
That's all it was.
my 2 cents is on June 1st, if we think we need a meeting on the 9th or the 8th or whatever, we can schedule it then.
No, that's a good idea.
So with respect to item 5, cancellation of work session currently scheduled for June 9th of this year, do I hear a motion?
I move that we cancel the work session on June 9th, 2022.
Thank you. I second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right, last item. If I may, I think this will go rather quickly. I'm going to reapproach and I just want to say this, I absolutely appreciate the comments that we received regarding modification of the policy with respect to the general rules of parliamentary procedure. I have before me and some of the members, the reference policy item 1500P. The bottom line is I will reapproach the ISBA about getting some, I received partial information from them. I'll go back and flesh this out a little better so that we are, I think, if I may mention, Melissa, that's a good suggestion. If we're in line with the majority of what other school districts are doing on this issue, that'd be great. My only intention in even bringing this up is that everybody knows what the rules are so we can all play by the same rules. That's all it is. And so if that's okay with people, that would be my intention. With respect to going to can we do a second reading a second time? Or do we have to go to a third reading?
Well, the idea would be that your second reading, for instance, right now may provide some sort of change. And then it goes to a third reading. So there could be, many times there are no changes to a second reading that moves to a third.
Okay.
But in this is an opportunity generally for the board. They can send them to you. You have this particular code of ethics or board norms rather.
Yeah.
And then you can make it, but then you'll need to re-present it for the May meeting, third and final reading. If there's a change, it could go to another reading.
Okay.
We never read it a first time. We tabled it for the next meeting at the last meeting. So I think this would be the first reading.
Did you say the next reading from the last meeting, the table for this meeting?
You're
Yes.
welcome.
Yeah. However
I
you
feel like
said
you're in
that.
really
But
long
then
term
is there
right now.
time to get
Let
it?
me capture that.
I'm pretty sure this is the first reading. Is that better?
I think you're correct. on
Because
that.
we
It
did table
sounds-
the issue.
Yeah.
We didn't even read it. Well,
We didn't address it.
And we do have the option just to take no action on a reading. But
You're gonna edit this, right?
Oh, yeah.
So could we just take no action on this one again until you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a motion to move it to a third reading and communicate what I learned in a revised version and we'll just keep going.
We can't move into a third reading if we haven't done the first and
First reading,
second.
yeah. However you wanna word
I'm
it.
just gonna, we'll just word it, it'll be no motion, so then when we build the agenda, we'll just have to build in, as we go back to those notes.
First readings.
Yeah, I think, I'm pretty sure that's correct, first reading.
All right. Done?
we talked about possible agenda items.
Oh, sure, let's have that. No, you're right. Unfinished business, we did that rather. Possible agenda items for future board meetings. If any member would like to see something added at this point, that now would be the time to make it known.
I would like to see us put on our agenda for the next meeting to address insurance issues in regards to sports. It would be my suggestion that we discuss having or have some kind of motion or something on the agenda so we can discuss with our attorney about drafting a letter for sports that could be included in all packets to be signed by parents regarding insurance issues. We've had some insurance people in our community say, hey, our parents really need to be aware. If they just say, hey, Johnny, you can go with Joe.
Right.
Joe's parents and Joe need to be aware of what insurance concerns. would be
You're talking in
applicable.
regards to travel.
Right,
right?
transporting students.
Travel, student
Okay.
transportation,
Okay,
right?
all right.
So, I mean, if we're not busing them, then we feel it would be in the best interest of everybody. And so there's several insurance
Okay.
companies that we have some kind of a thing that goes in their packets that says, hey, you need to be
Student
aware,
of another student that is not theirs.
or even a parent. If another parent takes another child,
That's what I mean.
what is
Yeah,
your
I-
implications? Yeah.
Okay,
I just understood the- on a good page.
Good.
okay, and I can send that to the attorney to, they probably have one drafted already. Yep. Okay.
Good, thank you, that's good.
Is there anything else?
I don't know where to address this, but I think it'd be good to get some Robert's Rules training from the ISBA. So
Well, we never finished up.
I know, we haven't had any training since.
Yeah, nothing.
And then because I know Polly's got so much going on, I don't know if we need to look at, we'd already talked about possibly getting a different clerk with whoever we hired in Candace's position, but we're not hiring Candace's position currently. So I think we need to look at a clerk option. Yeah, I don't know if we need to like,
Are you thinking like a,
Post a
just
position,
a, like a halftime clerk position? I'm guessing. So I mean, there's lots of questions, right? So
Right.
20 hours a week.
Maybe we put it on as an
Like,
agenda
flow.
item and.
Yeah.
figure out
just in it, that's what I meant, an
Clerk
agenda
position
item.
as an agenda
These are
item.
just things that I was thinking about.
And then, okay,
And if we do need to make a formal action decision about the JHS roof, I think it needs to be on the agenda.
Yes.
Any chance we're gonna have an estimate by then?
no, I don't think so. What we're gonna do is just put it, I'm gonna go ahead and elicit the architect, put it to bid. And then once the bids come in, then you will, then it'll be an agenda item at that time, and then you'll pass action whether or no, I don't think we can afford this. So Ty and I will talk about the two pieces. He already knows what we're gonna do. We're gonna do that an A, which we already kind of have. But we'll go through the legal process with the architect.
And when was the last time that roof was done?
The metal roof was done in 1981, so it's 40 years old. I'm not positive on the membrane roof. I'd have to look into that.
Talking about the vinyl.
Yeah. Yeah, but the metal roof on the two-story part was 1981 was when that was
Lisa, you weren't here, but last year we did get I thought about a 3 to 5 year remaining life on the membrane roof for GHS. So he thought we could, extend it out. If you watch the wind blow on the gymnasium, you'll see the flag portion of that roof moving quite a bit. We know that will eventually just fail.
And I talked to him about that, and he said that's not unusual because those sheets are, I'm not sure if they're 4 or 5 feet wide. They're attached at the edges. You do get some ballooning in between, but he said, as long as it doesn't break an edge loose at the end, you're probably not going to lose the roof.
And
But-
and what thickness are we going with on those?
It's the same stuff that we used at CV High School. I'd have to look at the
And it'd be in the
specs, but that's all part of what the architect does for the bid process. She spec'd out what it would be.
Another agenda item I'd like to add, and I know Becky's swamped, and I know you guys have reports, but we haven't had a treasurer's report that since the end of January 31st, 2022. And there aren't expenditures on the website, so we really need something next next meeting, anything. I mean, even if it's just a export from Skyward, very basic. It doesn't have to be as nice as she normally does it, just something.
Yeah, as I explained to you all, there's a number of particular pieces that kind of get fed to her. And Polly and Kendra and Becky G are all a portion of that. And with many of those systems shutting down or shutting off, it's not just, Becky trying to hold up. Polly is buried, and we haven't even cut one check this month. So we haven't even paid a bill. That's because of the amount of work that obviously is attached to you guys as well. And all the other things that she has to get completed as well. So I certainly will try my best to get those. Those are certainly our focus each and every month.
Well, and it is in the policy, it is in the, job description and in Idaho statutes. And I'm not, it's just the law, like it is what we, and I know maybe.
It's not an arguing point by me.
Yeah.
I can only get out of what I can get out. There is medical, there's medical hurdles in the way of this. And I can twist and turn as much as you'd like. But there's obligations to also meet that obligation of a medical leave situation that's involved in this. And I don't have another person that can get it done. So as much as I'd like to tell you I can get it done, I can't get it done.
Do you think we should call the State Department of Ed and have somebody come help us? I mean, because there are people available.
There are.
There are people
of
available.
people. Send me
I've
their
heard that
names.
there are people available, just like with Northern Idaho College right now. I know the school board, the Board of Education is
Yeah.
stepping into that one, but
I would, yeah, if you've got a contact, I would reach out.
Could you pull high school secretaries and?
Well, they're not gonna know how to run a treasurer's report.
they know how to do Polly's procurement.
I would say they do not.
No.
No, I would say that they could not just step in for knowing what Polly does from their particular realm. But ultimately, I'll have to ask Polly what that represents. I don't know that it's fair for me to grab some secretary out of the school and say, here, do this function, which you don't know anything about. And their own function's not getting done for their own particular workload. I think it's asking a lot. At the end of the day, in all of this, it's a good conversation, and I certainly don't want to appear defensive. So I want to be really clear that I too want all these reports for the board to have and done, but systems are shutting off, and there are. I don't know how else to convey this to the board. We have to get people in there. No one has applied for that position. We hope to have a payroll person here, hopefully up and in place this week. Just quick calendar, if they give a couple week notice in their own position, they might be on by May 5th-ish, let's say. And we can start doing some training there. That'll be a really big piece as you move into the summer months. Right now, trying to keep 170 employees paid, and you don't want that onslaught as well. And so I'm having to kind of pick what is the most important. Is a treasurer's report important? Yes, it is. I'm not denying that. But having teachers now get paid, that's more important, because then you will have anyway, the onslaught of the avalanche that will occur. So if I'm having to try to put some things in the most important order, you passing a budget next month is more important than a treasurer's report. It's going to be more important than that. And again, I don't want to minimize the other importance of those things getting done, because they are part of the duty. Just trying to do the best we can.
But you don't want to ask the secretaries to come in and help, because I've talked to a couple of them before, and they said they said they were totally willing to help out however.
I'm sure they are. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying I'm unwilling to do that. I'm saying that I don't believe they're going to be able to sit down and do the work without being trained. I don't have a person just to train them. If you think that a school secretary can just walk in and go, oh yeah, I'm cross-trained, they are not cross-trained. They are trained in the IC reporting, which is really a good thing. It's a big piece of the puzzle. But that was, I think, what some of you all brought up, part of the work ahead, trying to get some cross-training when somebody is out ill. or 6 so that things don't grind to a halt. And there is definitely some of that. And as you're enlisting an entire new team, it's big.
It's pretty beneficial right now.
Yeah.
You know,
What's
maybe-
that?
Yeah, I said it'd be pretty beneficial.
Yeah.
Maybe on that meeting on the 5th, there might be a good idea to discuss, again in detail of do we or do we not want to replace Ms. Eimer's position? I mean, are we possibly causing some issues by not? And then, maybe tackle some budget stuff, especially relating to 4-day week, because we've got, people asking, how do I plan? What do I do? We could work on some of those things to give us a leg up on budgetary stuff and maybe help out in the chaos that's in the
We've
district's office.
lost months. Lost a lot of groundwork.
That's what I'm worried about fiscally. I mean, how many late payments are we gonna have to pay and fines and things like that as well?
The board opted not to replace Kendra's position. We lost months there. That person should have been in place a month ago.
She's still there though, and it's still. we're
She's
still
there
behind.
for 9 more days.
Right,
No one will be in place to be trained by her.
right.
You're gonna lose all of that knowledge. There's gonna be another hole that's gonna happen for you. It's gonna create something very big. She is one of the legs to IC reporting, which is your funding mechanism. That connected to Becky G, that connected to Becky Hogg, and that connects to Paulie. So you have 3 of those 4 people missing. And it's not something that I can just sit down and say, I can pull that up for you. That's what I've been conveying to you all for months. This is what you are up against. And come July 1st, you're going to have a whole lot that you're going to need to really be able to focus on. And probably, I would say the most important piece in the beginning of that will be payroll. Can you pay your people? And because they're not going to call you and say, I'm worried about the treasurer's report. They're going to call you and say, I can't pay my mortgage.
Whatever help we can get from the state, I think we ought to.
Yeah, if you have a contact, I'd be more than happy to reach out.
Great. And then one more thing that I want to add.
At
Go ahead.
what point would you, is there like a point where we can file for a state of emergency? And they will come in and help?
If they don't need to, that would be better.
Right, if they don't need to, but I mean, like, if it becomes an issue, I do believe there is something.
State of emergency, at least as I understand it, is
Financial.
a financial shortfall that's giving the board authority to obviously make some extreme decisions, which happened 2 years ago with the benefit package. In order to meet certain financial obligation, they decided to cut the 70% dependent care to make up that shortfall. Well, it's not that you can't pay.
No, I mean, that
Yeah.
if you physically can't have somebody. there
Yeah,
to pick
that's
up
what's
the
happening
report.
is it's not as if the money isn't there, which is the other version of that. What's happening is, how do we stay on top of it? We are going to get bills paid. Part of the problem is it's just lack of time. We have the people, but some people are out sick. So that's what we're trying to hurdle through. And if that wasn't on the plate as well, I don't think we'd be discussing these particular problems. So I have never heard of anybody at the state that can come sit right in and do the work at any district, but if you have them, I will call, or you can call and send the Calvary. It'd be great.
Awesome. I'll work on that. And then one more thing I'd like to add to the agenda is an executive session for legal issues. I think there's some legal things that you might want to let us know about with personnel issues or.
I have no legal issues to inform the board about at this particular time. You're looking at me like there's a legal issue, then I don't know about it. You haven't sent it my way, or? Is
You're
there?
not using our lawyers right now.
I'm not.
Are you? I don't know. That's what I'm wondering.
No.
Are you seeking legal counsel
No. For what?
for personnel issues?
There is no personnel issue that the board needs to be up to speed or aware of that is involved in any litigation.
Because if there is litigation and then you leave and then we're stuck with whatever it is.
You would become, I would not do that to this board. I check with counsel a lot on any type of personnel issue that would, that we would work through that wouldn't rise to the level of the board being involved in that. But any litigated issue, you certainly would be involved. So it sounds like perhaps you know more than I do, which
No, I
probably
just-
it might not be a good thing.
No, I was just wondering, I did hear that our lawyer was being used. I spoke with ISBA about another issue, and there was some things that were said that we might need to know about.
That's news to me.
Okay. And we don't need to add it to the agenda. Job descriptions next time.
Hearing no further discussion, we're adjourned.